just between us, all right?
Welcome into Between Us on 938 Live. I'm Angela Lim. Great to have you with us. And it's always we're exploring relationship issues that matter to you and also sharing inspiring stories. Now, how can our seniors benefit from building close relationships with the community? Also, what are some issues surrounding our seniors when it comes to aging? We're going to find out more from my two guests today. Founder of Aspire 55, Janice Chia, and one of the people who've gone through her programs is, of course, the Pioneer Batch. Simon Teo is also in the studio with us today to tell us more about the issues surrounding aging and also talk us through what a virtual retirement village is. Janice, Simon, so great to have both of you on the show.
Hello. I am here.
Really excited to hear from both of you. And of course, Janice, maybe you can tell us, first of all, our listeners especially who are not very sure what the idea of a virtual retirement village is. Could you explain that to us a little bit?
Sure. A virtual retirement village doesn't mean that everything is done online. It's actually a village without wall. It's offering all the services that a conventional retirement village has, but allowing our members to continue aging in their own homes and to bring them activities, to introduce health programs, and to encourage them to form communities and networks as they age.
Of course, our seniors are all around us, in every family, people in our community as well. We want to be able to take care of the needs of our seniors and also learn from them at the same time. So we want to find out more from your perspective as well, the issues surrounding what it means to be aging here in Singapore. Let's start a little bit with why you started Aspire 55. It comes from quite a personal place, isn't it?
Yes, I'm 35 this year. I've grown up in a family that has strong networks. I'm growing up with grandparents, great-grandparents. And as I got older, I realized that my grandmother was aging rapidly, and she believed that as she got older, she would get weaker and she might ultimately end up in a nursing home and not be a burden to the family. But when I looked at overseas models and how people were aging and they were more independent and they were more active, and I thought there must be more activities and programs that can encourage people like my grandmother to participate more actively. So I thought of the concept of Aspire 55, and it was inspired by the Beacon Hill Virtual Village model in the US. But I adapted it for the Asian context and look at what kind of activities they might enjoy. So we did picnics, and my grandma enjoyed the picnic.
Right.
So, to cater to the different health profiles of our members. The older members, they were given chairs, foldable chairs, camping chairs at East Coast, and the younger ones were sitting on the picnic mats. And, it's about bringing together the young and the old in the way we used to have bigger family gatherings in the past. Now, as families get smaller, we don't have as many opportunities to get together as families anymore.
Right.
And so Aspire 55 creates that kind of family again, which is why we always have coordinators that are younger, volunteers that are younger. We even encourage members to bring their children along for activities, so that it's a mix of young and old.
Right. The idea of community is very important. I think Simon will agree here.
I beg to differ to some extent.
Okay.
I come from the corporate world. We have a lot of friends, a lot of colleagues around when I was working. Now I'm already retired. I begin to have this fear that I'm losing number of people that I have now. I look around, hey, I'm losing my friends one by one. I'm glad Janice brought in this Aspire 55 into the concept, because that's where I can meet a lot of people. We can socialize, engage, and meet up with them.
Talk us through the initial stages of your retirement, Simon. When you first quit, I guess you left your job. What were some of the things, apart from finding out that your social networks were not really existent at that point of time, apart from work? What were your other concerns and fears?
In fact, before I retired, I was looking forward to retirement. I asked myself, now when I retire, I have a lot of time. But after retirement, I begin to wonder, I've already done what I need to do, so what am I going to do next? My children really move out from what I'm staying with me, but it's also to some extent is they want their independence. So now I'm only living with my wife, two of us at home. So I'm looking forward to get engaged with more people. I'm trained as a professional accountant, so I'm also a health prevention ambassador as well as a crime prevention ambassador. Now, these are some of the areas in which I can get engaged with a lot of people, especially those with common interests that I can share with. How I wish one day I will live out to what Janice's grandmother is. Always happy. I saw her at the ECP picnic, right?
The East Coast Park
picnic.
East
Coast Park, that's right. where we are walking together under the nursing home charity walk, right? Now, it was really a fun walk.
Right.
Not only the walk itself, but after the walk, we sat down, we have a picnic.
Yeah.
We engaged in a lot of board games. All right, we talked to one another. I didn't realize that I have a common interest with one of the participants. He's a photographer. Now, he told me, life is like a camera. You need to focus at something important. Not only that, you need to open up your eyes. That is your aperture to see new ideas. You need to feel what life is all about. Now, when he spoke that to me, I was wondering what he's trying to tell me. But as time goes by, I think that is the truth. I'm sharing it with a lot of people. For example, when I used to play golf with my golf kaki, they always, after playing the first hole, they will say, hey, I make a bad mistakes. They curse and swear. But I always tell them, look, there are 17 holes to go. So why worry about the first hole? Just continue the 17. If you don't do well today, there's always tomorrow.
Right. It's great that you're still learning, so many new things, so much wisdom from the people around you. And it comes very much from the idea of the community, Janice, which is what Aspire 55 really aims to do, which is bring all the seniors back into a place where they feel that they're among friends, they're among people who care about them, not just in their own generation, but with young people as well. We're going to hear a little bit more about what Aspire 55 is really all about, why it's so important to think about these issues when it comes to aging in place as well. This conversation will continue in just a bit. Founder of Aspire 55, Janice Chia, is my guest today. Also, one of the people who are in the pioneer batches of Aspire 55's projects, Simon Teo, is here also to share a little bit more about his personal experience aging in place, I suppose, in a way. Between Us will continue in just a bit. Stay tuned.
Reset your relationships in Between Us.
Thanks for staying tuned to Between Us and 938 Live. Founder of Aspire 55, Janice Chia, and Simon Teo are in the studio today to tell us a bit more about the issues surrounding aging. Also, the idea of a virtual retirement village and why the community is such an important part of aging. Now, earlier, Simon was saying that he met your grandma recently at one of the picnics at East Coast Park. And of course, she seemed really happy, Simon. Yes. Let's talk a bit about how things were like before, because, your grandma was the reason why you started this, Janice. You noticed certain things about her that you were concerned about.
Yeah, I noticed that when she was walking, she started requiring a walking stick. And, her health was, her strength was going down. And as you get older, your muscle mass does decrease. So I looked at her, and also she was also repeating stories. For example, you'd come home and she would tell you about winning 4D, and she would tell you about the same thing the next morning. And I can understand that she's trying to relate, but this repetition is faced by a lot of families out there, that they hear repeated stories. And why is that so? Is because they don't have new stories and experiences. When we are working every day, when we go to school, we have new experiences to share with our parents, with our friends. But as you get older, sometimes you need new experiences too. And for her, as an older person, she's 82. She's, typically we try to, in Asian culture, we look after them as much as possible. It's filial piety. And we let them watch TV, we do everything for them. But doing too much is actually not good for an older person. So gradually, as I noticed that, I tried to introduce activities. So she goes for exercise programs twice a week to increase her muscle mass. We have Aspire 55 as an exercise program as well. So we encourage our older members to start working out earlier, because it's about aging in good health, so that grandma can continue to go for her morning walks. She can continue to make friends. She can continue to do things on her own. She likes taking a bus on her own.
Right.
And I'm reluctant to let her take a bus on her own, because I'm worried something will happen when she crosses the road. But sometimes when we want to protect them so much, are you trying to protect ourselves from any hurt, or are you trying to protect them? And that was what my aunt shared with me, that sometimes letting them do the things they like is important.
Janice, let me interrupt you for a while. Speaking from your grandma's point of view, the senior point of view. Now, we have our own thoughts, we have our own ideas. All the years, if you just want to take care of us, thank you very much. We love it. In fact, this is something which most of us feel that we want to be independent as well. But on the other hand, when you want to be independent, you may not agree to what we want to think about. So one of my suggestions, which I always tell people, is why don't we get engaged with we get involved with your activities. For example, you may be going for your marathon. At my age, I can't go for marathon, but I can take photograph for you. I can join activities. Likewise, you want to go for a trip to take photography. You take marvelous photos. I try to take as good as you. So basically what I'm trying to say is engage.
Yes.
Get to know the younger generation.
And it comes both ways, doesn't it? I mean, that's
Yes,
what you were
it does,
saying,
it does.
Simon, you
That's
know,
right.
because a lot of times, and we're all guilty of this, I think, Janice, we fear that, you know, our seniors will get hurt. And of course, you know, as
We
you
do-
mentioned,
we do
we
get hurt,
appreciate,
yes, yes.
you do appreciate that,
Yes,
Simon,
we
which
do.
you mentioned. But at the same time, you know, there are things that you would love to do that, you know, would really be even better for your health, really, if we just give you the space to do that. How is your grandma doing now in comparison, Janice, when you look at her?
You know, she's been through health programs, and she goes to a day activity center twice a week. You know, with the exercises introduced, she's managed to increase her muscle mass. Her balance has improved. It's definitely given her more confidence in terms of balance. One thing we focus on is falls prevention. So I think she feels a lot better. She now walks holding the walking stick instead of using the walking stick. So it's more like a security that she holds it.
Yeah.
How I wish I knew how to use a walking stick.
Yes.
I would definitely join your program.
Right, we'll hear a little bit more as well from my two guests today about why the community is so important, because despite all these things that are available out there, healthcare, things like activities that are being organized, it's not easy to get started on that as a senior without friends, without people around you in good company. So we're going to find out a bit more about how Aspire 55 is doing some great work in terms of helping our seniors come together in a virtual retirement village. My two guests today, Janice Chia and Simon Teo, will continue telling us about their perspectives on the issue in just a bit after headline news and sports. So stay tuned on Between Us. We'll continue in a bit. Stay with us.
Man is a knot into which relationships are tied, but nothing comes between us. On 938 Live.
Chatting today about the issues surrounding aging and also aging healthily and happily. That's the focus of today's discussion. We're talking today to founder of Aspire 55, Janice Chia, and of course Simon Teo, who has personal experience as well going through the programs of Aspire 55 also. Now, Janice, earlier we were talking a little bit about the things that were very important that we tend to make, you know, as mistakes, you know, caring for seniors. We tend to do things too much for them because we're worried that they'll get hurt and things like that. What are other things that you've come to notice working with seniors that, you know, we tend to not pay attention to that we should?
I think one thing we should pay attention more is actually their health, making sure that they have the strength so that they can age independently, which is why for a lot of our members, and a lot of them are still active right now, but we need them to continue staying active and healthy, and not just about the going for a morning walk, but it's also increasing their muscle mass so that they don't accidentally fall. Most incidences happen when you fall down. You know, it's about falls prevention before it happens. If they want to live at home for as long as possible and avoid going into a nursing home early, then I think that we need to make sure that that element is taken care of. The other thing is independence. You know, they want the independence to make sure that they can look after themselves, and even more so for the baby boomers. You know, my grandma's generation is a generation that typically has the expectation of living with their children, but as I look at different generations of people age, like Simon, for example, you know, he belongs to he's very similar to a lot of our members who want to age independently. They want to do their own things, so we need to make sure that we can give them that. And what Aspire 55 does is actually look at what are the services you need in order to age well in your own home. Apart from social activities, it would even be support life services, for example, household cleaners, electricians, a driver, so that you can go to your medical appointments and someone to pick you up.
Let's talk a bit about this balance that, you know, that's here, because I think maybe a lot of us who are caregivers, especially, or family members, we find it hard to strike that balance between worrying too much and, you know, in a way kind of making the senior feel like they can't do things on their own, and at the same time, you know, you want independence. So Simon, tell us a bit about what you think in your view as someone who's been through the program. What do you think is a good balance to strike for caregivers?
When I first joined the Aspire 55, my first impression was, hey, am I going to meet all the old people as well? Or are they going to be younger, older than me? But after being through 2 programs with them, one was a walk and the other was a forum, I realized that behind every one of us, there's always a family members. I think in order for us actually to be independent and to age actively, we need family members to be supporting us. Not necessarily to be physically, but at least when in some of the programs, if you can, for example, in a walk, I've seen sons, grandchildren coming along as well to give the moral support. Once we feel that there's a moral support, we feel very, very happy. I'll be most pleased if I can get my family members walk with me, chat with me, and enjoy every bit of what we are doing.
So don't be overprotective. I think that's
we
the
don't want to be. We don't want to be.
Yeah.
We don't want to be. If you want to have independence, go ahead. But we still need you. We want you.
Right.
It's basically from a parent's point of view.
I feel like keeping a loving distance, I think the independence
you're right.
aspect is so important.
That's correct. That's
Maybe
correct.
Simon, you can share a bit about why it's so important, so our listeners also get a feel of, why the independence aspect means so much to you, even as you go into old age.
Well, generation gap, as we always say. The younger one would think quite differently from what we think, and we don't like to impose our neck on them on what we think is always right. But on the other hand, we can give them our opinion, and they have to decide. On the other hand, if they will leave us alone, then we'll find very lonely. They can move out, they can stay on their own, but we want them to come back, at least to call us, to let us know, to make us feel that we are still around. That is my personal feeling.
Right, and maybe echoing quite a lot of what the seniors are thinking as well. Janice, in your experience, what do you notice about what are the biggest needs that the seniors tend to have?
I think it's always right down to interaction with the community, with the people around you, your neighbours. As society gets more affluent, we no longer know our neighbours as well as before. It's about bringing back that kampong spirit and to bring a whole community together to support each other. So being a virtual village, Spa 55 is like a second family. I now have many aunties and uncles and grandmothers and
I'm one of your
grandfathers.
members.
Yes. So I now have a lot more relatives. We are a large extended family that looks after each other. And one day if a member needs some kind of assistance, what we can do is rally each other to help, to support. It can even be just delivering food or checking up on them. But it's about being able to be there for each other. We often go for an activity, and even if you go for a Zumba class for 8 weeks, you might not make any friends. Whereas when members attend our activities, we try and facilitate those relationships and just to start the introductions.
Right.
As you age, it can be like going to kindergarten. Once you leave the workplace, you have to form new networks. We even created our own business cards for our members, because once you leave the working world, you don't have a calling card. And I don't see, I believe in dignity of aging. And as you age, you still want to have that. And, I don't want you to scribble your telephone number on a napkin or on a piece of paper. Why not we give you a name card that you can present to each other and to your new friends that you meet? Because aging is not about just aging on your own. It's about meeting new people.
And speaking of meeting new people, I think Simon's gotten to know quite a few new friends. Maybe you want to share some of the people that, you feel that, hey, I feel a great connection with. I feel so much better about life. Anyone comes to mind now?
Well, in one of the forums which I attended, this chairperson of the Song Foundation, right? She narrated to us about her experiences, how she was from her younger days, and now presently she's actively involved in aging, trying to introduce a lot of new concepts, a lot of new ideas. And also an not NNP, I think, an MP. She also shared with us, because I believed as we age, we want to share. And I was just talking to Janice just now. Why don't we look forward to some of a retreat where we get members together, we share our talent. For example, some of us are very good in cooking. I love my mom's cooking. There's always, every child will say that.
Yeah.
Let these members come and share with us. Organize us together, get involved.
Well, and speaking from a person of the young generation as well, I would love to attend events like that, where you can actually interact with someone and learn from the elder generation. But perhaps the idea is that there are not many platforms available for the intergenerational generational sort
we
of
try
thing.
to create. Every event we do, we try and involve our members, family members, and their friends as well. So we'll encourage them to come along. And even if you're not at the age of 55 and above, if you're under 55, you can still join as a friend of the village, which means that we'll call upon you as a volunteer or to participate in activities. We'll give you a newsletter, and you're still involved. And this brings the young and old together. So it's essentially a village of all ages.
Maybe Janice can give them a certain sort of a communication link whereby they can just connect with you, Not only the people like me, but the next younger generation.
We'll find out more about why it's so important to have this intergenerational link. I guess the vision that Janice, you have of Aspire 55 being something that promotes the kampong spirit, kind of resurrecting that in some new way as part of a virtual retirement village. We're talking about today how to age healthily and happily with Janice Chia, who's founder of Aspire 55, and Simon Teo are going to share more about his experiences in the final segment of Between Us, coming right up. Stay tuned.
Reset your relationships in Between Us. As always, just between us on 938 Live.
Janice Chia and Simon Teo from Aspire 55 telling us about their experiences as part of the many projects that help to promote active, happy aging here in Singapore. Now, we're talking to Janice now a little bit about, I guess, why the intergenerational aspect is so important in your activities. Maybe you can tell us a bit about anything upcoming that people can join in.
Yep. We regularly organize different kinds of activities, and one of them coming up is actually a high tea. And every time we do a high tea at the hotel, we always invite a doctor. And this time around, on this Saturday, 6th September, we've invited Dr. Carol Tan, who's a renowned geriatrician in Singapore. And she's going to be sharing with us stories about successful aging. And when we invite such doctors, we always tell them that share with us the personal stories that they have. And our members, together with their friends or their children, they attend the high teas and they have a really good time getting to know each other. And we introduce each person when they attend the high tea so that they feel that they've made new friends. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the function, you will have known at least 10 other people.
All right, and speaking of these friends, Simon, any personal experiences, especially with a young person that maybe has become a good friend?
I have a reputation to work well, to interact well with the youngsters.
I can see why. Full of life and energy, Simon.
Yeah, because they always ask me this question, Uncle, how come you're so active? My reply is, why can't I be the active? I can do what you can do, but not as well as what you can do. Then they look at me, you're right. So basically what I'm trying to stress here is engage them, understand them. Don't impose on them what you think is right. Share with them. They always look forward to us as some sort of mentor, and I want to learn from us whatever we have. But never tell them this is wrong, this is wrong. The only one of the ways in which we use to correct them is don't tell them they are wrong. Tell them you can do it in another way. Okay, and they feel very at ease.
Right. So actually, in very small ways, you can really change the interaction.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, to our listeners out there, whether seniors are tuning in or, people who find it very difficult sometimes to come out of their shell, especially as you mentioned, your grandma who might have been at home for a long time. What are some tips you have, for the seniors tuning in, Simon, how to reach out, not just to youth, but to people in general? Come out of the shell. Don't be afraid to engage, as you say.
Well, as I say, my photographer friends has told me, from what I learned from him, open up your aperture, open up your hearts, accept new ideas, feel it, which is in another term in photography, what do we call your sensor? Sense, feel, understand, open up, then you will definitely be a better person. The word is open.
Right. I love the idea of never, you never stop learning. I think that spirit is very evident.
And it's always something new. I mean, for example, when someone meets me, they always ask me, what's a younger person doing in this sector? And one of their greatest surprises meeting me at an Aspire 55 event is that you look very young, you're 35, why are you amongst us?
I never believed that.
Yeah.
I never believed you're at that age you could run such a scheme, I was expected somebody, maybe a retired person, But
I think it's important for younger people to get involved with looking at how people age. Because if my parents and my grandmother ages successfully, it makes me very happy. To me, that's being filial.
That's right.
And I think what we're trying to encourage to do here is also for more younger people to be involved in the activities with older people. And just, to interact and to do these activities together.
Definitely.
Perfectly agree with what Jenny says.
And if you'd like to find out more about what activities are available, and also if you want to be a volunteer, I think, Janice, there are options available for you to do that as well.
Yes, you can be a friend of the village. You just register online. And if you want to register for your parents as well, you can feel free to do so with our website.
Right, and this is...
You mean beside the parents, the children are allowed to join as well?
Of course, the children can join as a friend of the village. Anyone under 55 and anyone over 55 can join as a village member. And there's 3 tiers of membership with Christmas Christmas coming out in a few months, we encourage children to buy memberships for their parents, of course.
Really?
And if you want to find out
Bravo.
more, and if you want to find out more, you can head on down to the Aspire 55 website. Of course, it's really all about creating that community spirit, allowing your seniors to age happily and to make new friends and to always be fulfilled and happy in their old age as well. www.aspire55.com. That's www.aspire55. That's in numericals 55.com. Thanks so much, Janice and Simon, for sharing your experiences today. This has been Between Us on 938 Live. I'm Angela Lim. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Man is a knot into which relationships are tied, but nothing comes between us. On 938 Live.